My friend Grant is over, and we were watching Conan, because, you know, he's Conan. Anyway, Conan was talking about this individual who recently refused to go through the full body scanning machine at the airport and refused the pat-down. Grant asked me if I'd heard about it, and I said, yeah, the pilot, right? Apparently not. For those of you who don't know, there was a pilot a couple of weeks ago who works for one of the major airlines, but was traveling as just a passenger on this particular day. He had always been a vocal opponent of using the full-body scanning machines. He had been selected to go through them on this particular journey, and he said no. He said that it violated his rights, his right to privacy. He was not going to use it, and he absolutely refused. Apparently, there is a similar situation. While this pilot had always been a vocal opponent and been vocal on blogs and the such, this most recent individual by the name of Tyner had been going on a hunting trip and was selected to go through the full body scanner and said no. He refused. They then said, okay, well, we can do the alternative, which is the, full body pat down, and he said no. And ultimately, he ended up not boarding his flight and being refunded the purchase price of the ticket, and managed to capture all of this on video. Video I haven't seen, but I'm kind of curious to. And he claims that a security official who is currently unidentified threatened to sue him if he didn't go through the screening procedure, even though he'd already had his ticket refunded and was leaving the airport. Tyner left anyway. And to be honest, even though I've had this conversation with a number of people, nobody's managed to convince me that these machines are a good idea. Granted, I don't have opposition to them because I think they're going to give me cancer, though let's be honest, they may. The issues that I have with them are purely logistical. Heathrow Airport got rid of these machines 3 or 4 years ago and put them in storage because they'd bought them thinking they would make the airport safer, and they didn't. These machines weren't effective enough for Heathrow, so Heathrow put them in storage, thinking that they were going to use their resources and their time on methods that were more effective. Personally, if they're not effective enough for Heathrow, what makes us think they're going to be effective here? Moreover, they do violate people's right to privacy. The fact is, these machines, if used on people under the age of 18, violate child pornography laws in a variety of countries and U.S. states. In my opinion, if it is something that produces an image that would be considered child pornography if I was under the age of 17, I don't want it produced of me when I'm over the age of 17. You might be okay with it. For you. But for me, it's my personal choice, and that's not something I want to be subjected to. Granted, I don't necessarily want the full body pat down either, but it's my choice. The thing is, I'm nerdy enough that I'm interested in TSA reports and stuff like that. And I've always managed to read up on the TSA's results in terms of the safety screenings, where the TSA actually goes out to the various airports and does the security equivalent of a secret shop, where they test to make sure that everything is running the way it should. Growing up, I always thought that it was super interesting that the Honolulu airport got 99% of the stuff that TSA tried to smuggle through, meaning that it was a really safe airport, that you could be sure that any flight leaving Honolulu was safe. No nefarious stuff that wasn't allowed. However, my local airports were not as good. Not by half. While, granted, I'm not going to get the numbers exact because it's been a while, the most recent data released, which is using test results from 2006, let me put it this way. If I got on my chemistry final what the TSA got on their test, I would be crying and probably fail out of college. Although hopefully one grade wouldn't cause me to fail out of college, hopefully you get my point. The TSA at my local airport only managed to catch like 40 to 50% of what the TSA screeners were supposed to be able to catch. Now, this isn't using some sort of crazy fake underpants explosives. This was stuff that the TSA claims they are already able to catch with existing technology of X-ray machines and metal detectors. Yet the Chicago TSA, not so effective. Personally, what would make me feel safe is not implementing the use of these full body scanners, which, let's be honest, we are fighting a learning, smart, thought-using enemy. If we just start implementing full body scanners at every airport, let's say worldwide for the sake of argument, do you know what's going to happen? What I suspect will happen? They will not put them outside their body anymore. They will put them inside the body, which the TSA scanners can't detect. Then what? Then are we going to start requiring an x-ray of every person before they can board a flight? Really? Moreover, as was pointed out, the stuff that the underpants bomber used has been around for decades, but the reason that nobody really uses it anymore, or ever used it with that much frequency in the first place, is because it's not very effective. It's really hard to make work right. So why don't we just let them sabotage themselves versus, sabotaging our privacy? However, what I think is the biggest issue for me is not necessarily that these aren't effective or that they're not going to protect us the way that people think that they are. It's that the TSA in a variety of states and at a variety of airports is not capable of doing the job they already have effectively. They are not capable of using the technology they have of x-ray scanners and metal detectors to detect the knives and other things that are not allowed on planes. They're not able to do that. And I'm not really sure what makes people, politicians or regular citizens, think that adding another level of bureaucracy and difficulty is somehow going to make this all better. I personally do not subscribe to the mindset of add another level of bureaucracy, because bureaucracy will make everything more efficient and better. Really? Come on. Think of it this way. If your child is having problems with addition and subtraction and they're only able to solve their math homework about 50% of the time, what makes you think that teaching them to do multiplication and requiring them to do multiplication on their math homework is going to increase the rate at which they get their problems correct? Isn't just adding another level of difficulty and more things that they have to figure out how to use and use correctly is just going to create more issues? Because let's be honest, I'd prefer that they take the money they'd be spending on scanners and use it for training and teaching them to do their job correctly, the job they supposedly already know how to do. But hey, that's just me. And here's a big thumbs up to John Tyner. And I'll be honest, if I have to fly in the future, which it's entirely possible I will, and they ask me to go through the full body scanner, I'll say no. And while it's entirely possible I'd be okay with a pat down, if I wasn't and they tried to give me hassle, I'd drive instead, or take the bus, or train, because I have options. And there's absolutely nothing that says I have to go through security measures which violate my constitutional rights and aren't going to do their job anyway. And while people say that John Tyner was just doing this to publicize his blog, if that's the case, but it gets people to wake up and start to realize that these security measures are kind of like the Patriot Act. We think that they'll protect us, but all they really do is take away our rights. If people start to realize that and we start to actually debate the use of these machines on a logical level with, logic and reasoning and all that smart, nerdy stuff, then it was worth it. Media hog or not.